everyone, and welcome to the first session of the Planet Repairs Internationalist Grassroots Media Action Learning Training. My name is Roma, I'm 21 years old, and I am the main teacher that you'll have through the 12 weeks of this course. Today is just going to be an introductory session, which means it's going to be a bit shorter than some of the other sessions that we've had. We're going to have a quick introduction to who I am, and then we're going to talk a bit about what journalism means, what critical journalism means. And then we're going to talk about the structure of the course and what we're going to be covering. And then towards the end, we're going to talk a bit about technology and tools. And then we're going to close. And at some point this week, I will have live streamed calls with each of your clusters where I'm going to get to know you all. And I am so excited for those. So without further ado, let's get started. As an introduction to me, the first thing that I want you to know is that I'm not an expert. I've been a journalist for just over a year, having trained for 6 months last year and then practiced it for the 6 months since. This training was invaluable. It taught me a lot of things, but still I'm not an expert. I'm here passing on the things that I learned during that training. And so what I am really seeing this course as is a chance and a way for us to learn together about what does it mean to take the practical lessons of journalism and apply them for planet repairs and for environmental and better change. So yeah, that's what I'm here for. So just wanting to say that. But I am so excited to go on this process of learning with you all. The first thing that I want to start with is we're going to be using this phrase critical journalism quite a lot. So I want us to understand really what that means. And that probably starts with understanding what journalism is. And I'm sure all of you have a picture in your heads. You might have read some articles, read a newspaper, you might get a newspaper weekly, you might read articles online, you might watch videos. These are all forms of journalism. Journalism fundamentally is the practice of researching and presenting information for public consumption. So it is about taking big, complicated ideas or finding information that isn't in the public already and synthesizing it down so that it can be understood by just anyone on the street. And it is a very specific skill set and really important for ensuring that we all have access to information and we can hold our systems of power and the people who hold power in our countries to account. For this reason, journalism is often called the fourth estate, which is a European kind of conception, but it's this idea that you have the three estates. You have the judiciary, you have the people, and you have the lawmakers. And then you also have the journalists, and you have the press and the free press, which holds all of these systems of power and the ways that we elect officials and the ways that they practice the power that they have to account. It is a huge part of a functioning democracy and of a functioning society that there is information flow, at least in my opinion, which is why I think journalism is really important and why I'm so excited to be developing journalism practice with you all. Now, I have a PowerPoint, so I'm just going to make myself a bit smaller and make this full screen. And we're going to talk through some of the aspects of critical journalism, which is a particular understanding of journalism. So the first aspect is that critical journalism is ethical. And by this, I mean it respects the people and the stories that it is writing about. It is fair and it is accurate. And if there are two things that I can help you take away about ways to practice journalism through this course, it is these two things: that journalism has to be fair to the people that it's writing about, to the stories that it's telling, and accurate. And fair doesn't always mean nice, but accurate, but measured and balanced, and being able to present the truth of another side that you might disagree with, and know that the truth of your side is strong enough that no one's going to come away thinking that side's right. It also has to be accurate. You have to present the truth. There are many truths, but what you have to present has to have some basis in reality. You can't just be making things up. That's a different skill set. The other part of the fact that it's ethical is that it is about finding untold stories. There are lots of stories that do make it into the media, but there are also a lot due to the biases of editors, the biases of the journalists and the researchers, and the perceived biases of what the public wants to read about. That means that lots and lots of stories just don't get told. And so it's our job as people that are trying to embody critical journalism to find these stories and to tell them. The other aspect of it is that it questions everything. It is a process of working on yourself to identify the assumptions that you have about the world, and then also taking any bit of evidence, any interview that you do, any account that you get from someone, and holding it up to the light and really looking at it and questioning, why has that person told me that? What's their motivations? Understanding why someone said something and questioning everything so that you can prove that things are true because you've questioned it, you've done the research, you know. Another aspect of critical journalism is that it explores answers and highlights the people working on these answers. So what does this mean? I think it's best understood in terms of what it's not doing, which is that lots and lots of mainstream journalism in the UK, and from what I can tell also in Ghana, explores problems. It fronts with, this is bad and this is bad and this is bad. And it presents a picture of the world that is incredibly hopeless. And I'm not saying that bad things do not happen and that we don't report on them. Absolutely, we report on injustice, we report on bad things. But wherever there is a bad thing, wherever there is an injustice, wherever there is a mistake or an issue, there is always someone, somewhere, working on a solution. And so we find those solutions and we find the people working on them and we report on that as well. It's also known as solutions journalism, which if you can look up, and it has some very interesting backings and perspectives. The other aspect of this, which is very related, is that it encourages agency. So if you're reading news all the time and news is presenting a very negative and very unchangeable picture of what the world is, you do not believe that you have agency or want to try and get agency in order to change it. You believe that it's just bad. And so in having journalism that fronts with and highlights solutions, it encourages readers, it encourages listeners, watchers to understand themselves as potentially actually part of the solution. And the last point is just a small one, that we are working on journalism that works for global justice for everyone. We're not here for individual career reasons. We're here because we believe in the power of telling untold stories, of presenting information fairly, of encouraging agency and encouraging people to work for change that can lead to global justice and planet repairs for all. As a generation, you might be familiar with the quote from Frantz Fanon, which is each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. As a generation, we have a duty, I believe we have a duty to continue the struggle of our ancestors for justice and dignity for all peoples. We have to understand who those ancestors are. We're going to be talking about some news ancestors, some journalist ancestors here. We're going to be talking about their legacies and the bits that we want to pick up. And we have to understand that we're continuing that struggle for self-determination and for global justice. So yeah, this is just a point that I wanted to raise because the reason that I do all of the work that I do, the reason that I went into journalism was because of this fundamental thing about I believe in the power of telling stories to reinvent the world. Okay, that might, I'll just go back for a second. That might sound intimidating. I know it sounds intimidating to me, learning how to do all these things, and I've been trying to do them for a while. I really want to let you know that we are working together, and that although I have been through a training program that has given me some practical skills that I'm teaching to you, I do believe that through engaging together and learning together, you guys have as much, if not more, to teach me about how to do this as I have to teach you. And it's a process where we get to learn it and work it out together. And that is just so exciting. So yeah, quite a lot of the sessions, this session's going to be very me talking to you. I'm hoping that quite a lot of the sessions will be very emphasizing like the practical things that you need to be doing, and the practical learning that gets done, encouraging you to go away and do homework or do activities with your clusters. this will help you to develop a practice that looks like this, even though this looks intimidating, one step at a time. So yes, there is going to be homework. I would really like you to understand the homework as important as the sessions, if not more so, because journalism is not something that is taught through theory. Journalism is something that's taught through practice. That's all I have to say on that. So now I'm just going to talk you through very briefly the structure of the course. So we have planned a 12-week course, that starts week 1 with this introduction session. So welcome, we're doing it, week 1. This is going to be a lot shorter than the others, as I said earlier, because it's just going to have less content, but I figured it's a really good chance for us to get to know each other, to get on the same page about some things, and yeah. So later this week we will have a live stream and I'll get to actually meet you all. I'm so excited. So then week 2, next week, we're going to look at the journalist's toolbox. What do we actually need in terms of tools in order to practice journalism? And what might we use these different tools for? When are they relevant? We're also going to talk through the life cycle of a story, which is what are all of the stages and processes that a story or an article or a video will go through before it reaches your hands, before it reaches your newspapers, your devices. And this will help us understand how to put together stories of our own. And then we're going to do a crash course in interviewing, which is one of the fundamental journalist techniques, which is knowing how to interview someone. Week 3, we're going to look at news copy and writing like a journalist. Week 4, we're going to look at video journalism, recording, editing, uploading to things like YouTube, broadcast, how these different mediums differ. It's gonna be a good one. Then week 5 and week 6, we're going to look at media law, which sounds boring, but I promise you we're going to try and make it exciting, especially because it will be quite a lot of research and working out things together. Then week 7, we're going to have a catch-up week, which will be probably no recorded session, no pre-recorded session like this, but we're going to do some live sessions where we can just chat, we can talk about questions that we've had, like do a bit of troubleshooting on the work that we've done so far and work stuff out together. Then week 8, we're going to look at using data sets, so being able to read and interpret big spreadsheets, being able to make graphs, all of this. So that's what we're going to be doing week 8. Week 9, I'm hoping, pending the involvement of a potential guest teacher, that we'll be able to look at conducting more long-form investigations. So every story that you write is a form of investigation, but some take longer to put together than others, and so we're going to be looking at long-form investigations then. And then week 10 and week 11, we're going to look at different forms of publishing, physical publishing and digital publishing, and you can understand which mediums you think that you most want to practice. And then week 12, it's going to be our final session. We're going to do catch-up, questions, troubleshooting, and probably a bit of celebratory vibes, hopefully, because we will have learned so much and done so much together. Each course will consist of a pre-recorded video, and then I will be joining a live session with each cluster individually, where we will be talking through the content of the pre-recorded video, potentially talking about how you guys got on with the homework, what you thought about it, all of this stuff. So it'll just be a chance for us to catch up. There will be homework from each pre-recorded session. There'll be some homework from today. I would really encourage you to do that either in cluster groups or on your own, whatever works best for you and you're learning, like how you like to learn. And also throughout this whole time, I would encourage you to start writing and researching real stories. For things like the news copy and writing style, we will be using some fake fabricated stories. But the best way to practice this is just to get started. So if you hear about a story coming up in your town, on your road, write something up. Do a little research, conduct some interviews. I would really encourage you from now to begin practicing, even if you're not quite sure, because I promise you, you will work it out and you'll be able to, with the skills that we're going to talk through on this course, be able to understand and perfect those techniques. Or not perfect, because nothing's perfect, but get better. So that's the structure. Please do buzz me any questions. I'll go through my contact details in a sec. Any questions or concerns about this, please do let me know. This is the first time that we've done these training sessions. We're planning to do a lot more. So during the catch-up weeks, we're also going to be talking about feedback. But please do send me any feedback you have at any time, because this is us testing this process. And depending on how this goes, will influence the things that we change for the next cohort of students to go through this. So yeah, just wanted to say that, and that I am so excited for this. Now we're going to go on to tools and technology. So next week, we're going to go a bit more into depth in terms of a journalist's toolkit and what we might be using to conduct different forms of investigation, to do different forms of writing up. But basically a note that the homework for today, or one of the aspects of it, is to, in your cluster, pause the video in just a sec and go through and make a list of all of the tools and technology that you have collectively. So maybe one of you has a PC at home that you'd be willing to have like people around your house and to do some research on the internet with. Maybe one of you has a laptop. Maybe one of you has some notebooks that you're up for sharing. Maybe one of you has a camera. There will be some technology that I think that we'll be able to give to clusters through this process to support you guys to actually be able to do the things that we're talking about, but definitely is a very limited amount, and it will be a case of making sure that we're pooling all of the technology we have access to. So if you're able to pause now, have you paused? Pause about now and make this list of the technology that you have as a collective. This list, you can pause now. Sorry, I didn't do that bit very well, did I? I'm learning too. This list is then going to get sent to me by the leader of your cluster, and then this is going to help me understand what homework can be assigned and what can be done within what technology we have access to. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at on that. I think that's all I had to say about. Let me consult my notes. Tools and technology. Yeah, cool. So you can see here my contact information is on the slide. Your cluster leader can also get this to you at a different point, but that's my email and that's my number. Feel free to contact me on WhatsApp. I am available all times of the day. I'm terminally online. So yeah, please do. If you have any questions or concerns or things that you want to share, things that you've seen that you think are cool, please do send them to me. That is sort of everything that I had planned today. Let me just come back and full screen myself so that I can properly say goodbye. I am so excited to be doing this. I'm sure I've mentioned that a couple of times. And also kind of intimidated, and we're going to work it out as we're going. And I'm really hoping that by the end of this, we can be building really strong, like grassroots to grassroots relationships around building powerful and truth-telling journalism. So yeah, that's what I'm at. I'm really, really excited to meet you all on our live sessions, and thank you so much for going through this this introductory session with me. Yeah, all right. I will see you all in live sessions. Bye.